Hey, good morning, everyone. Hey, let me get that screen off there. So there we are. There's our faces. Hey, so welcome to another live stream. This is Ira Wolf, and glad to have everyone back here. This should be a great show. We've had a ton of interest. The other day I posted this up, and I think we've got close to 7,000 people viewed it and lots of context. So obviously it's a very, very hot topic. And welcome, Cheri Garcia.
Hi, how's
Hey,
it going?
hey, excellent. Hey, you and I met. Just to give a little bit of background here. We're going to be talk. By the way, we're going to be talking about second chances. Let me go. There's a million bells and whistles here. Let me get this up here, and so we can make the contact. There it is. Okay, that's what we're going to be talking about. Second chance hiring. I met Cheri about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, at the HR Southwest meeting out in Dallas. And you were just, I think Cornbread Hustle was just starting. Is that the?
I actually started Cornbread Hustle almost 4 years ago.
Oh, okay. All right.
We had just started. I just had started promoting and getting out there and networking with HR people. The first couple of years was inside prisons and trying to hone in on our craft.
So, basically, I saw you stop by, talk to you. You caught my attention. And for probably about a year, we've been trying to get together and get here. So I really appreciate you being here. So we want to talk about your story. Let's start with, basically, I'm curious on the name. I'm not sure I ever asked you, or if I did, I forgot. You have a staffing firm that focuses on helping people get second chances.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw up some stats here. It literally is a crime of what's happening. But before we get there, how did you come up with the name Cornbread Hustle? It's a great name, but I'm not sure I would have said it was a staffing firm.
Yeah, everybody was like, "Are you sure you want to name your company that?" I actually explained this in our orientation video because everybody wants to know. The funny thing is, a lot of our applicants already know, but there's a movie called Life. It has Eddie Murphy and Mark Lawrence in it. It's a classic movie, and there's a scene in there where they're in the chow hall in a prison, and they get in a fight over cornbread. And it's just a really funny scene. If you go to YouTube and type in, "Are you going to eat your cornbread?" Life movie, you'll see exactly the scene I'm talking about.
Fun. So how did you? Let's go back. Let's talk a little bit about your life, and then we'll go to the current situation. So you've had a very interesting life, but a remarkable journey. And congratulations on your just successes, including sobriety and sort of going from rock bottom to where you are. So why don't we tell everyone, kind of share your story there, how you got to here, and then we're going to talk about going forward, because again, all you have to do is Google second chance hiring, and it's everywhere.
Yes, it is, and I'm happy for that because it was nowhere 4 years ago. Everyone thought I was crazy. They were like, "You're going to make a for-profit business, convincing people to spend money to hire people coming out of prison." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm crazy." And I was, and I'm glad I wasn't crazy because I'm so blessed to be the head of this company and to make real change in our community. But yeah, I grew up in a great neighborhood, and I had a great family, and was on the cheerleading team, made good grades, and I decided to try meth one day when I was in high school. And my entrepreneurial spirit, I'm 0 to 100 on anything. So anything that I put my hands on, I'm going crazy after. And I happened to go crazy after the wrong thing. So I started doing the drug in order to fund my own high. And I just pretty much destroyed my life. But fortunately, whenever you are in high school, there's not much to destroy. You're already just starting out. So it was pretty easy for me to bounce back. I did the whole college thing because I spent time just doing drugs and killing drugs. But I ended up going back to my original passion, which was getting into the newsroom. So I worked my butt off, and I ended up working for CBS as an assignment editor, and I worked at a couple of news stations with all the different positions. In a small market, I was the teleprompter runner, the producer, the reporter, everything. And then in the larger market, I was just the gatekeeper. So I learned a lot there. And you know,
can I ask you a question? When you were doing that, were you still using meth?
No.
Okay.
I got clean. The problem is, and that's what I was about to get into.
Okay.
I just woke up one day and decided, okay, I'm gonna stop doing meth, and I'm gonna pour into entrepreneurship / career and achievement. I never worked a 12-step program. I didn't go to rehab. There was no huge aha moment besides just being sick and tired of being sick and tired. So the issue is I never worked through any of my trauma. Obviously, whenever you're going into strip clubs to sell drugs on school nights, you're gonna have some trauma in your life. I never addressed any of that. I just never worked through anything, and I just went straight into overachievement. So I worked at the news station, and when I was working overnight, I communicated with the factory in China and invented a product. So I'm working in the newsroom, and I'm inventing a product, and end up leaving the newsroom to jump into full-time entrepreneurship. But all while doing this, I'm drinking a lot. So I was still pretty successful and achieved a lot of things while drinking. And it's all over billboards, and society talks about happy hour all the time. It's legal. I felt like I worked really hard, so why not get drunk? And that bit me. Because I ended up starting Cornbread Hustle because I said, okay, let me use my entrepreneurial background to help prisoners hone in on their craft and make money. So I was teaching entrepreneurship in prison. I volunteered for the prison entrepreneurship program. And these guys were getting out. A couple of years later, I was doing Facebook friend requests with people with neck tattoos. And I was like, oh, I guess they're out of prison. They're freaking out. So I would meet with these guys and talk about what their business idea was and what their dreams were. And all they had was a Texas Department of Criminal Justice ID, an ankle monitor on, and they were told they need to get a job in 2 weeks or they're going back. And they had a bus ticket and like $50 to their name. And so I was like, well, this isn't a great foundation to build a business. Let's reverse engineer the big picture and get into an entry-level job. So I continued to cold call small entrepreneurs and essentially sell them this person. But I did it for free over and over and over until I woke up one day and was like, maybe I should monetize this because I got to eat. I need a job. And it's just a nonprofit isn't the route for me. It wasn't the route for me because entrepreneurship is like a real big passion of mine. And as much as I'm good at helping others and raising money, I'm not good at asking money for myself. So it would have just been miserable. So I just wanted to put my money where my mouth was and say, if I'm not successful in helping people be successful, then I'm not. And fast forward to today, we still struggle. I still have a hard time sometimes paying the bills, but we've really grown a lot. We have people out there putting food on the table. I'm sober now, so through the process of growing my company, I had to recognize that I had a problem. I got a DWI as the founder of Cornbread Hustle, a staffing agency for second chances. I'm sitting in the back of the cop car because I got a DWI, and that was pretty eye-opening. Like, that doesn't make sense.
Well,
I don't convince myself that, well, everybody drinks and drives. I just happen to get caught. And it sucks. I have this job. I mean, what if I was just a regular worker at like anywhere else?
Right.
And so I kept drinking until I had to start walking the walk and become the leader I needed to be in order to grow this company. And what's today? The 25th? I am today 14 months sober. So
congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a huge achievement. That first year is every day and one day at a time, right? But
yeah,
that first year is tough.
I I don't really count the days every second, and that obsession really has gone away. A lot of people in recovery groups gave me the feedback that the obsession goes away around month 13 and 14, and they're right. It did go away.
Super. So let's go forward. So we've got this challenge. It sounds one is we've got the unemployment rate on our side. I said the other day, somebody asked, I think it was one of the conversations that was going on in response to the post. And, I'm wondering, somebody asked, why is it different now? What's changed? So before I give my take on it, I'll ask you. I mean, is it because we have such unemployment or low unemployment, or is there something else going on at the same time?
So there's a couple of things. The nice, fluffy, cute answer is there's a bunch of people like me out there sharing success stories. And we have even Kardashian of all people going to the White House talking about second chances. That's obviously going to get people talking about it. But in my opinion, that never translates to people actually doing something about it. What translates into people doing something about it is when money's on the line and production is stalling because the unemployment rate is so low. So I'd love to say that every single lead that we get is somebody that believes in second chances and really wants to see somebody transform their life. No, sometimes it's just they need a worker to come into work and stay at work because they can't keep employed and their turnover rate is so high. Regardless of the reason, we're happy because a lot of times these people that come to us because of a need, they end up being filled and their heart opens up to see how inspirational second chance hiring can be. Somebody would come to us and start out with, okay, so we only want this kind of felon, with this kind of charge, this many years in prison, and we'll just test it out with one or two. And then inevitably they're usually coming back to us and requesting, just opening up the floodgates and saying, okay, this has really worked out really well. And they start to get really inspired by seeing just the humbleness of the person that came in, their gratefulness, their loyalty. And I will tell you that it's not always like that. Just like any regular employee, though, people suck everywhere, regardless if they have a criminal record or not.
Oh, absolutely. They don't have to. They don't have to have the prison experience, right?
No, yeah,
to be bad people. Yeah, I often say that about generations too, because I put myself out there as a recovering millennial basher. When I wrote my book in 2008, I was pretty harsh on the millennials. I think you're a millennial, right? Do you fit that?
I don't like to identify as one.
Yeah. So, but I said I'm a baby boomer, and I probably have more millennial friends, and I like millennials more than I do some of the baby boomers that I know. Same with Gen X, and every generation. So there's always good and bad. Within that. And sometimes it's just differences, and it's a matter of tolerating, but sometimes there's, as you've written about a couple of times, sometimes there's just toxic people in your life and toxic cultures, which we can go down a whole other road. So let me go back to a couple of things, because I found I was first kind of introduced to this, because I grew up in an age where on the application, it was, have you ever been convicted? And then a lot of people even took that to the next step, which was illegal, but they did it anyway. It was, have you ever been arrested? And again, people, you can be arrested for especially if you were a minority, especially if you were of color, you're going to be arrested for nothing, for walking down the street. So, but the correct language was, were you ever convicted? And about 6 or 7 years ago, I spoke in Oakland at a nonprofit event. And for the first time ever, I was in charge of a roundtable. I gave a keynote on the future of work. And then I was positioned at a roundtable. And the roundtable discussion was about ban the box. What did we think? And I had no idea even what it was. And I'm supposed to be the facilitator. So as a facilitator and as a consultant, you learn how to fly, to build the plane while you're flying it. And that was my first exposure to it. But it always stuck me, because then, I literally, I pulled out my phone at the event and started to look it up to find out what was it. And that seemed to be the beginning. At least some people started questioning that. But it was really almost a social advocate movement. It wasn't really picked up by employers. It wasn't
That's
really
what I'm
advocated
saying.
by.
The awareness doesn't always translate to action steps.
Right, right. So that was about 7 years ago, and then you said you got involved about 4 years ago and still found out. And now last year, I think it was last year, maybe it was 2 years ago, SHRM started Get Talent Back to Work program. And that's really, I think every time the CEO is out there and he's like at every event possible, that's his lead. I mean, that's the message. So there's a lot out there. But in my research, I found, and I posted them up here, some stats. 1 in 3 American adults have a criminal record. That is just astonishing. I mean, you know, and then again, and then the other numbers, 650,000 are released every day or every week. It's something like 12,000 a week.
Yeah, 95% of all people who are sitting in prison today at this very moment will be released. So a lot of the times you have a lot of, and I don't lean towards conservative or liberal or anything like that, but usually it's a lot of very conservative thinking people that have that mentality to lock them up in the way they deserve this.
Right.
Well, it's even if
until it happens to them, until it happens to their family, right? Or their kids.
Well, even if you don't care about second chances, 95% of all people locked up today are going to be released. So you're going to care when your daughter's sitting on the bus next to one of these people. So prison reform helps everyone. It doesn't just help the person that's in prison.
Right. So again, so we've got 12,000 a week that are getting out, 27% unemployment rate. I'd be interesting to look. I didn't have an opportunity to dive into that a little bit. I wonder what that is by race. I wonder if the unemployment rate for ex-offenders is like the rest of the unemployment, where for white male college educated, it's like under 2%, but for blacks, it's still high fives. It's low, but it's almost double or triple what it normally is. I'd be curious to find out what the unemployment rate among ex-offenders is, based on race, because it would be pretty. I think that would be pretty telling as well.
I think the numbers are out there. I'm not sure. I mean, I know the numbers are out there on incarceration.
Recidivism, I know, is like super high.
But I don't know these numbers. I will tell you, we see such a mix. I mean, we don't really track it. It's so funny because sometimes we get audited to see, like, make sure we're not discriminating. And I'm like, we are not going to discriminate. We're over here telling you, like, bring in all your problems and help you. But we really, a lot of the people that come into our office that are struggling to find work and need a second chance aren't the type of people that you would think. Some of these people are all college educated white people.
Oh, absolutely. I know in that post the other day, as I said, it just lit up when I put that up. I think it was Thursday or Friday. I mean, I don't think I've ever put a post up that fast that had that many views, comments, people reacting. And I've already had interaction with a few people, with attorneys, with a few attorneys, some medical help. Everyone was college educated. It was really amazing. And again, that's fairly common. I mean, I certainly, middle class to maybe middle upper class, kind of grew up I didn't grow up in that lifestyle, but certainly through my career and my professions, I've been able to be there. But I don't know if there's a single family that I can tell you that hasn't had either a child or one of the adults impacted by addiction or other events. I mean, obviously there's other felonies that are involved with that. So everybody has been affected, and it's but again, the chances of of certainly having that college education, coming from a middle class, upper class family, and getting that second chance is a lot easier than a lot of them. Certainly a lot of minorities, a lot of the other people. I mean, so? Let me ask you. So you have people coming to you, obviously, that are ex-offenders. What about employers? Is the tide changing? Do employers come to you? I mean, I mean, obviously you're pounding the pavement, getting the message out there. But are you getting calls from employers? So let's talk about that, because I think that's the biggest hurdle that we need to get over, because there's still that impression that, hey, I mean, we carry a lot of money. We have a lot of valuable goods and merchandise and services, or what happens, our clients may be uncomfortable. Let's talk about the employer side. What's changed for them, and what are they finding?
Well, like I said, what's changed is the need. I mean, they won't have money or anything to steal if their production is slowed down. So, yeah, they have no choice. Like, literally, employers have no choice but to open up talent pools. And I know this for a fact because we never tell people, hey, you got to go commit a crime before you can apply to Cornbread Hustle. If you come to us and you want a job and you're willing to work, we're going to place you. But every single time, 10 out of 10 times, every time, 100%, somebody that came in without a criminal record and was promised to death that they're willing to work and that they really want this opportunity, they did not show up to work on day one. 100%. So it's obviously a problem out there if I'm seeing it in our small little agency. So first of all, it's the need. Second of all, you've seen my posts on LinkedIn, all of my job reviews, every single request that we get comes from LinkedIn, and it's because they're seeing the human side of these stories, not just my best employees, if you look at their criminal record, it says convicted of murder, or it says assault with a deadly weapon, or it says domestic violence, and it has some serious, or it says theft, grand theft auto. Like, those are things that you look on paper and you're like, I don't know that person in my workplace. But when these people start seeing the videos that I'm doing with these people and they're sharing their stories about how it occurred and how they grew up, what happened, they start to see a different view of it. Wow, almost they have that empathy that they're sitting there thinking, well, I would have done much worse than what they did. Like, they were just trying to survive, or they grew up in a toxic environment and they didn't know any better. Or straight up, somebody like me, I was just ornery. And I was a drug addict, and I didn't want to live with anybody. And I've changed now. Now I have the Lord, and now I walk the walk, and I'm a very professional, respectful person, and people can see that in me. So they think to themselves, well, I want to hire the people that she's leaving, or that are hanging out with her. Maybe there's people like Cheri that have a lot of skills and they just have a blemish on their background. So storytelling and the need combined is what's made us successful.
So what type of vetting are you doing? Obviously, your reputation's on the line. So you're getting, an employer is willing to give you a chance, and you're sending out people who are, they're willing to give people a second chance. But your reputation as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, is on the line too. Because if you're sending people and they either don't show up, they steal, they're using drugs at work, they have accidents, they make mistakes, it goes down the tube. So what type of vetting are you doing, and what could employers learn from what you do in that process?
Yeah, and those things have happened. We've had a guy relapse.
That happens by the way, that happens without people having criminal records.
Yeah. We every single client that I have, I first and foremost have to vet our clients. I'm not going to just give any of our guys to a toxic environment because a client is not doing this for the right reason, just wants to speed up production and treat somebody who has
cheap labor,
like a slave.
find cheap labor, right?
Yeah, so I have a really, I get really in depth with the HR people that I work with. You can talk to any of our clients, any of those HR people, they will tell you that we've personally sat down and talked about life and addiction. A lot of my clients, they have a husband or a kid who has been affected by addiction or incarceration. So they understand that there is a risk and that it's not on me if something bad happens. I can't control people. But what they do know is that we do a serious vetting process. So it starts with the phone interview. Sometimes our vetting process has begun already 4 years ago. Some of the people that are coming into our office have met me in prison 4 years ago, and they're just now getting home. So we start by even going into prison. I have 3 prison visits coming up in the next 3 weeks. And I go in there and start explaining our program and what you need to do to transform your life and what opportunities are out there for you if you want them. And then they come out, they end up applying on the website, and it starts with the phone interview. Our phone interviews are always with a formerly incarcerated person who can see kind of manipulation. I hate to say it, but people who are in prison are like really creative with manipulation because there's
survival, right? By survival.
Yeah. So I mean, great at manipulation. So we have to have really strong recruiters who have been in that lifestyle of either being addicted or being in and they know the look and feel of somebody who transformed from the inside out, not just the game. So then they come into our office for an in-person interview. We never send somebody to the workplace without meeting them in person and talking to them. And we just have a series of questions that we crafted really carefully that help us find the 3 things that we're looking for in somebody, which is our core values. EAT, EAT, so empowerment, accountability, parenting. And we explain to these candidates that they're not here to get a job, they're here to apply to be part of our network. Because me and my other recruiters are in recovery ourselves. And don't need anybody in our environment that's going to take us off track. So we talk to them about our community event. We have ongoing workshops that are always free. We have dinners. We have rock climbing. We go to the movies. They get a Cornbread Hustle membership card that allows them to get different perks and incentives, things that nobody else can get. So for the first time in their life, they have something that other people can obtain. It's not a reward for getting in trouble or going to prison, but it's more of a reward for doing the right thing, keeping your head down, and getting back to society. So the reason why our turnover rate is so low against other staffing agencies is because our applicants don't go to the workplace and get in a bad mood and just jump to another staffing agency. Our guys, if they wake up and that alarm clock goes off, they're thinking about hitting the snooze button, they think twice. They're going to lose the membership card with Cornbread Hustle, not just a job. So we're a strong community, and our vetting, I think it's not so much our vetting process because you don't really learn somebody's true personality if you work with them for 3 full months. And obviously, you could never work with them for 3 months before we place the job. But our saving grace is community events and involvement and just the resources we provide for the people who are coming out of prison. Our program has changed significantly because of my own need to change my life. I've went through a major transformation over the last year. I had to get all new friends. I had to get into a new environment. I had to change my behavior. And I think it's just the best thing that ever happened to me because now I understand my own cultures and applicants at a deeper level, and I have so much more empathy, and I'm much more equipped to help them walk this walk.
Right. And your article yesterday, by the way, if you go up, and I know people can connect with you up on LinkedIn, Cheri Garcia. Let me get your name up here so you can look again. So I know if you'll connect with Cheri. But there was an article yesterday about the toxic environment, about getting rid of, and my first thing was, obviously there's a lot of toxic people. I had a family member that now this is going back almost 35 years when people said, oh, literally people said, you don't want anybody to know that. Why would you even have them go to rehab? Because if the word gets out, they'll be identified for life. They'll be labeled for life. And it was like they needed help. I mean, that was the right thing to do at the time. So my experience is going, it's actually almost 40 years, is going back. So, very interesting with that. And what I learned at that point, going through as a family member, was about you've got to cut your ties with toxic people. Now, there's a lot of toxic work environments, which is what you were talking about as well. And sometimes you have to cut your ties there, which is interesting because we speak with a lot of people talking about building a positive culture. What's the employee experience like? What's the candidate experience like? And, there's both sides. People don't want to enter voluntarily into a toxic culture, but there's a lot of people within the environment, which is a high rate of turnover, why people leave. But if you absolutely need a job, you're sort of stuck there. Which is a problem, but that's not good for either party.
Yeah, and in the blog, it does talk about getting away from toxic people and toxic environments, but it focuses way more on the fact that you're the toxic person most of the time.
Oftentimes,
and recognize your own toxic behavior and fix it. And then once you fix your own toxic behavior, then you see people in situations through a different lens, and you have a different perspective, and you're like, wow, I was super ungrateful, I was disrespectful, and it was my insecurities and anxiety that made me ruin this opportunity in this relationship. And I think it's self-awareness. Everybody's so quick to be like, they're toxic, or that's a toxic environment. No, maybe you are. Straight up.
Right. Yeah, there's, and I don't want to go too far down in the road because I spent 35 years or almost 30 years studying this. But there's a model out there called equality of motivation, and it looks at, if we look at motivation as a skill, of life skills that we have, and that some of us, not everyone, has learned how to attain positive things in our life. You're obviously either learned that or were taught some of that as an entrepreneur. We're not always taught about how to maintain the positives we have, because we're sort of in a throwaway society. So, hey, if I lose this, I'll get another one. If I lose a job, if I lose my money, if I have a car accident, I can always recover. So we teach people how to achieve and to attain, but we don't necessarily teach people how to maintain. But maintenance is a positive one. But we also teach people how to avoid pain and how to get out of pain. But the thrill is getting out of pain, is that escape. It's not getting caught type things. It's that challenge, it's that winning, it's pushing ourselves beyond that limit and not getting hurt. But those are all positive skills. So we have 4 positive skills, which are productive attainment, maintenance, avoidance, and escape. But there are 4 counterproductive skills that we are all taught. And some of us were taught too well. So opposite of attainment is self-defeatance. And it's that in order to be polite, you can't be greedy. Don't be so greedy. Don't always go after that. So there are certain people that have been learned to turn down things. Okay, that's a big deal. That's not the usual problem. Self-sabotage is a huge problem. We've taught, because it's a carelessness. It's about forgetting things, losing your money, losing your wallet, losing your job, mouthing off at your boss. It's going back to what you said. It's that toxic behavior that comes out and other people don't like. And then there's self-punishment, which is a huge problem in our society. It's no pain, no gain. Is I can push myself to the limit. And then there's a hopelessness. The 4th one's martyrance, but it's really a sense of hopelessness. And the reason I brought this up is there were actually studies done at Leavenworth on recidivism and also the welfare system back in the 80s and early 90s. And what they found is that some environments teach people, they reward the negative skills, these counterproductive skills, because they give them short-term gains. You get a pat on your back. If you and I go to lunch and you really wanted the last piece of pie and they don't have it and I give it up, I pat myself on the back, but then I'm disappointed that I didn't get it. But we tend to reward people, especially like on the sabotage and that carelessness, that if something breaks, parents tend to replace it. or people excuse people for losing that. Self-punishment. You're the best employee in the world. You come in and work 36 hours straight. I wish other people were like that. So we do really injurious things to people and then don't understand why in the long run they hurt themselves. So this quality motivation, actually in Leavenworth, they found out that they worked with they had small pilots. And why was the model inmate released? And on their way home for 5 or 10 years, model behavior, walks out, and on the way home stops at a bar, gets into a fight, meets some old friends, does some really negative behavior. And of course they could never get funding for it to take it out there. They also, for like third and fourth generation welfare moms, kids dropping out of school when they're 13 and 14 because they were pregnant. How do you break that cycle? And they had a 100% success rate on having kids graduate high school. And then the new election, governors are thrown out of office, funding goes away, and the program's died. But there's a lot of, certainly behaviors, a lot of skills, that you're talking about in the background that need to be changed. And I think it's finally come to being that we understand that we're starting to teach people. It's not only teaching people positive skills, but also getting rid of their negative ones in a toxic environment.
And something that we know all too well at Cornbread Hustle, you can be a model inmate in a controlled environment.
Yeah.
You can be the biggest Bible thumping, praise the Lord, perfect, being just perfect inside prison all day long. We see it all the time. And then,
welcome back to the world, right?
Well, those people, there's a few people that come to mind automatically, and they're serving 30 to 50 year sentences right now.
Yeah, but that's what I love. What you said is you're forming. It's not just a staffing firm. You're not just about getting jobs. You're actually creating a community. I called it a movement the other day, but it's really, you're providing them a community, a safe, so basically a safe place. You need friends. You need new friends. You have to surround yourself by positive people, helpful people. It's a great model. So you're in Dallas, Fort Worth, I think. There's people that are in other cities, in other places across the country. What advice would you have for them if they don't have a Cornbread Hustle in the neighborhood that they can, that you're providing that opportunity? Where can they go?
Yeah. It breaks my heart because I get messages all day, every day, and I'm about 1,500 messages behind on my LinkedIn inbox because honestly, it overwhelms me so much, and I still am doing a lot of work with my mental health and sobriety, and sometimes I just can't go through them. But there's always great entry organizations, of course. I think we all know that all nonprofits aren't really doing the work. And when I say not doing the work, it is what it is. People have to survive. Sometimes nonprofits get a little caught up in spending a lot of time raising money instead of the people in their program. Which is, I get it. Like, everybody has to eat. I can't imagine having to figure out ways to get money donation. To do what I'm trying to do. I couldn't imagine. So kudos to all the people running nonprofits. But I would just say to go to, what I would do? I have great advice right now that I've never told anybody. It just came to mind. Go to news.google.com, type in the city, second chance hiring, and hit enter. And you might see news articles on companies in your area that got publicity for hiring felons. Just use different words like that. And it's much better than just a regular Google search, because you can do Google search. The sad thing about people getting out of prison and trying to find an entry-level job that's felon-friendly, they're just typing in background-friendly jobs, and all these job boards that are trying to compete on Yeah,
I've seen
all
that
the
this
job
morning.
boards that are trying to compete are just using those searchable terms to get more traffic, and it's so discouraging. So one tip of advice, I gotta make a little video on this, news.google.com, and type in some keywords. Then you're gonna get incredible sources, and you might even see the name of the hiring manager, the HR person, or the owner, and go to LinkedIn, add them, send a note that starts out with, "Hi, I'm a felon, and I desperately need a second chance. I promise it will work." Almost all of my messages to HR people is, "My name's Cheri, and I'm an alcoholic." And just because I know that they're gonna be like, "Who is this girl, and why is she telling me this?" And then they continue to read.
Is this where you were sending people? Is that the right
Yeah,
matter? Yeah.
just go to news.google.com and type in like North Carolina felon second chance, or
I know I did that. I didn't do that this morning on Google, so I found the problem that you had. I went to Google and I was just looking up for different topics in second chance hiring, and it was amazing how many job boards came up that people now have that in the title. So again, people are gaming it. Can't blame them, and maybe there would be some opportunities there. But so great suggestion. Thanks. So now we got it on video, right?
Yeah, thanks for making me aware of my own idea I just had.
That's what I do all the time. So, and sometimes I even get some myself. So I appreciate that. Hey, we've been, I said we were going to run it for about 30 minutes. We're actually about 42. So I want to start wrapping it up. Again, so I think that was one of my main questions. What can people do in other areas? What can employers do to find out who's successful? Are there other organizations or staffing firms like yourself that are available to help? And again, if you're a little fearful on doing your own vetting, and again, I like the fact that one is you're putting your reputation on the line, so obviously you're going to be a little bit more selective. You're spending more time, even though you're saying it's not a full vetting. You're spending time. You're going to prisons. You're speaking with people. You're meeting people. You're talking with people. People get the message out. Again, I congratulate you.
And we're not a charity, so we're not just throwing you applicants hoping for a happy ending.
As I said, your reputation's on the line. Your livelihood's on the line. Yeah, and everything.
Our money's on the line.
Yeah, for sure. What else? What's a final word of advice you can have? Let's do two. One is to employers. One is to ex-offenders who are out there trying to get their life back together.
Okay, great. So final word of advice, one that you left out is other staffing agencies. I get messages probably 3 to 5 a day from other staffing agencies wanting to learn more about chance hiring and implementing a process. First of all, I want to say, if any of you are watching this and like shaking your fist at the sky because I haven't responded to your email or I left you red, I'm sorry. We're trying to create some kind of webinar where I can get to everyone at once, because if I say yes to all 3 to 5 people a day reaching out, then I spend all day just giving advice on second chance hiring and we'd go broke. So
well, let's talk about that. Maybe it's something we can do together. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love that. So, that's, if you're a staffing agency and you want to explore second chance hiring, go to gettingtalentbacktowork.org and just use all of those resources and stats. If you're trying to figure out how to sell your client on giving second chances, one thing that I will say is I don't see other staffing agencies as competition. There's just so many people out there that need jobs. My biggest concern is that you do it right and don't get in it for the wrong reasons. If you're getting in it for the money and so you can tell stories and get more clients, then you're going to hate yourself and you're going to jump off the cliff, because this is not an easy job, and your patience will be tested.
Yeah, if you're not passionate, if your heart's not in it, don't do it. Right?
I'm just warning you right now, and I'm not even saying, hey, get out of this business if you're not in the right reason. I'm protecting your sanity. Don't do it unless you have a heart for it, or else you're going to really start questioning humanity. Because think about it, you're the first person doing all the vetting. You get everyone before you vet, and there's bad people out there. So that's number one. Number two, if you're an employer and you're thinking about second chance hiring, I would say, like, I want to tell all HR people, like, hey, just implement it now and go for it. But not every person is. Remember, I told you that felons, people coming out of prison, can be. I shouldn't even use the term felon. Sometimes it's degrading, but people coming out of prison can be very, very, very manipulative and convincing. They're great salespeople, but sometimes they use their talents for bad instead of for good. So always be on point and aware when it comes to putting your HR person in a position to interview people coming out of prison. That's something we're not thinking about. Like,
You better be a good interviewer.
hey, there's a lot of advocates out there that are just telling the good stuff all day, every day, the good stuff, the success stories. But there are dangers to doing this. We can't be blind to the reality and the risk. So employers, again, they can getting talent back to work. Maybe you don't work with staffing agencies, you don't want to pay Cornbread Hustle, but maybe we can work out a consulting deal or something so I can help your company learn more about chance hiring. Just learn, whether it's from me or somebody else, learn. Or start with something Cheri prison to see the different personalities before you bring them into your workplace. And then 3, if you're getting out of prison and you need a job, I get a lot of people messaging me on LinkedIn asking, should I be honest? The answer is always yes. Right now, 2020 is the time to be a felon. If you want to take a time in this lifetime to have a criminal background, now is the time to do it. Even Trump is backing sex against hiring and banning box and the First Step Act. We have Kim Kardashian. We have Coke Industry. Big name companies doing this. And I can't name many of my clients publicly, but they are all billion-dollar national publicly traded companies. So there is a movement, and it's going in a great direction. I just ask everyone to, yes, have the heart for it. Yes, second chance hiring is an amazing feeling, but make sure you're getting educated and being aware of the type of work environment you need to have. You can't have a company that has beer pong competitions every Friday at 4 p.m. and expect things to work out well.
So, right. Have a happy hour, right? Or
Yeah.
so. Great advice. I've been trying to talk to you since our meeting a year ago. This is great, and we can continue it. So I am serious about doing that webinar. If you want to put something together, we can talk about how to do that. I'm happy to kind of put it out there and run it for you. And it's sometimes hard to do all of that and continue your message. So absolutely. So I just want to share this. And by the way, when I was looking down for everybody out there too, I'm not checking my text. I am checking my text, but it's related to this. So I'm looking at my LinkedIn profile and everything. One question that came in was, do you have any plans to expand your business on a national level? And so I'll let you answer that.
Yeah, obviously, like the bigger we grow, the happier we are. We've had our current clients want us to expand, obviously, since they are on a national level. But we are really just trying to hone in on what we're good at with Texas right now, and we just want to do this right. So, do we have plans to expand? Yes. Franchising, I just don't think it's going to happen. I can't. It's too scary for
You
me.
might be able to teach people, just kind of a little, I'll put my consulting hat on in a moment. It might be just looking at the model. What's the model, and can you teach people how to use your model?
Yeah, I think I just have to, in full transparency, I have to figure out how to monetize that and make sure I'm not stepping too far outside of the day-to-day staffing and changing lives. So I have to figure out how to maybe set up some kind of curriculum and credential and help others do it. Of course, like it is very tempting sometimes when we have staffing agencies from all over the nation saying, let us franchise this. Come out here, but growing too fast. If we mess this up, it messes a lot of things up for a lot of people in a lot of areas.
No, you pay attention. Yep. Yeah, do it when you can. And just a real positive here. A comment from one of the listeners. You are both awesome. Thanks for sharing. Keep up the great work you're both doing. So wonderful. So I appreciate that. Again, I knew the other day when I knew this would be, it was an important topic. I wasn't sure what the response was going to be, but I didn't care. It was an important topic, a message to get out. Obviously, from the response, it was been phenomenal. So again, I'd like to continue this. I apologize to everybody. I know the sound. I got a couple comments here about there was a little echo, which we knew about, but hopefully everybody was able to hear. It looks like a lot of people stuck around from the beginning to the end, so that's a positive. In a few months, love to have you back for do the podcast.
Great.
Excuses and Googleization, and we'll get kind of find out what's transpired, over those times. So maybe late summer or early fall. We can connect again, and that's only audio, so we won't have an echo problem. Just a couple reminders here. You got Cheri's name up there. You can hook up with Cheri on LinkedIn. She's got great articles posted there as well, or go to the website cornbreadhustle.com. Reminder, we're doing our podcast tomorrow. I have to think, busy week. Podcast tomorrow, 1 p.m. Geek Skeezers, Googleization.com. We've got Kevin Grossman and Jerry Crispin on board from the Talent Board. We're talking about the candidate experience. Crazy, as we were just talking about another issue, candidate resentment has gone up 40% in the last 4 years. So despite the fact that there's literally billions of dollars of HR technology going into this, a lot of focus, a lot of seminars, a lot of training, online courses, there's a new article every day about candidate experience, candidate resentment, and that's beyond candidate dissatisfaction. Candidate resentment, meaning they'll go out and tell other people and stop buying from you because the candidate experience is so bad, has increased 40%. And this was within literally top companies that participated in the survey. So you can imagine these are the companies that are interested in finding out what's going on. Imagine all the other companies that are out there that don't have that interest, that didn't participate in it. So that's astonishing. So we're talking with them, and then on Thursday, it'll be a nice follow-up to this. I'm talking with Julianne Sullivan. She has a new book called Catalyst of Culture. I don't know if I can put it up there. There it is. Okay. We're going to be talking about the employee experience in the culture, and so this is a great segue of how do you create a much more positive environment, and we'll see if we can weave this into it. And final thing, if you want to get notified about future events like this, if I can show it, oops, oh, it's going across the bottom. You can see it. Go to GoogleizationNation.com. That's a community. That's where I advertise. That's where we promote the articles, and you'll get notices. There's no charge to do that. And if you go to join.googleizationnation.com, you can order a free copy of my book, Recruiting in the Age of Googleization. The second edition is now out. Just came out this month, and I'm giving away free copies. If anybody goes to join.googleizationnation.com. So again, Cheri, thank you very, very much. It was a pleasure. Again, I know we're going to be talking a lot in the future, and let's do that webinar together.
Thanks.
Okay, have a good day.
You too.
Bye, everybody.